I want to talk to you about boycott, divest, and sanction, the BDS movement. Now, there are roughly two different categories of people who support the boycott, divestment, and sanction of Israel. There are delusional, naive fools who actually have sympathy for the Palestinians and think that they should have a state side by side with Israel. And then there are people that just want Israel destroyed, Jews dead, and are masking it by pretending to support BDS. And this is really directed at the first group because the second group there's nothing you can do with. So what are the fundamental issues? First of all, the BDS movement on college campuses is funded and organized by Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Student Association and the Students for Justice in Palestine are baby terrorists. They are organized, funded, and set up by Muslim Brotherhood for the purposes of destroying Israel. This is just part of the phased jihad. There's no effort here to limit Israel. It's to destroy Israel. I mean, how much clearer do you have to get than Iran saying there will not be an Israel in 25 years? And even the supposed moderates in the Palestinian community applauding the stabbing, car ramming, missiles, dead Jews. So that is the main point to understand, that this is an effort to destroy Israel. You know, there are 21 Arab nations. There are 65 Muslim nations. The land that the Jews occupies now, they were in 2,400 years before there was anyone ever heard of Muhammad. Jews have been there from the beginning of recorded history. It's the Jewish land, the land given, even if you don't consider the Bible a religious document, as an historical document. And the Balfour Declaration in the early part of the 20th century legitimized, and the League of Nations, the United Nations, all legitimizing a Jewish state. And the Arabs have said, no, we don't want a Jewish state there. We want Israel gone. When the PLO got established in 1964, remember, that was before Israel won the West Bank and Gaza and the Golan in a war to defend itself against destruction. So what was the PLO trying to liberate? But all of Israel. And if you look on Abbas's wall on a map, there's no Israel there. He said consistently, and he's supposedly the moderate, that he doesn't ever willing to accept a Jewish state side by side. They have no interest in a Jewish state. So this idea that they'll be satisfied with Judea and Samaria and Gaza is ridiculous. I mean, Israel pulled out of Gaza completely in 2005, and all they got was 10,000 missiles. And this idea that there's moderate Muslims is crazy. I mean, in the United States, 25% of Muslims admit that violent jihad is acceptable for anyone who insults Muhammad, and 51% want Sharia law, which is sedition. And those are the ones willing to admit it. And you can never know what a Muslim really believes, because Islam commands lying, taqiyya, in order to advance the cause. So if somebody tells you that they're not a jihadist, how do you know? And there are many phases of violent jihad, including a non-violent phase, where you just wait and abide your time until the Muslims have enough power to take over. So most Muslims, not all, but most Muslims, by poll, support violent jihad and Sharia. And this idea that it's occupied land, the Palestinians are a phony people. They never existed. Show me in history the Palestinian people. The land was called Judea until the Romans changed it and named it after the Philistines, who were a sea people and nothing to do with the Middle East. And for all those centuries, it was Jews living there. And this idea that the Palestinians were displaced from their homes, in the book Time Immemorial by the late Joan Peters, she shows conclusively, after analyzing all the data, that most of those people came from other areas when they saw the Jews who had come to and made their land green again. So the Palestinians are just a phony, made-up people. The Soviets and the Arab world made them up just to harass Israel. So this whole effort, called BDS, by either is a delusional, bizarre support for a barbaric terrorist nation, the so-called Palestinians, or it's an out-and-out effort to just hate Jews, like so many people have done in history, and the Jews are not going to take it. The State of Israel is the only tiny little Jewish country in the world. It's one of the great countries of the world. It's the only place in the whole Middle East where there's freedom for Arabs and freedom for women and freedom for gays. It's got the most advanced way of helping the world in so many different areas, and that's what the Arab world can't stand. Their countries are cesspools of barbarism, tyranny, oppression, and so to divert attention from their population of hating them, they focus on the classic scapegoat, the Jews. That's what BDS is, and anybody who grabs onto BDS is grabbing on to terrorists who are just another name for another terrorist group who are hurting the whole world.